I think we're live.
Are we?
I think we're live. Hello, Teenage America. We're busy trying to figure out how TVs work. And it keeps showing the same thing no matter what I set it to. Just trying to share my screen to everyone else. There we go. Now you can see everything.
Hey, everybody.
All right. It looks like we're live, ready to roll.
You say ready. We're live now, so there's not much more we can do.
So what are we talking about?
I don't know. Cheers, first off,
Yeah,
to an Enterprise Connect.
Good week. Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers to this guy behind us. He's gonna come.
He's talking to Australia. We brought me fronties. So we're good with that. This is probably blocking some of the light. There we go. So Enterprise Connect. I have notes, which I never do for
on a bit of paper as well.
It's on an AVI SPL thing I had in my backpack. I flipped around, used notes. We have notes for Teams Wednesday. We do not for Teams Fridays. That is a law. That is a rule.
Okay.
Right.
So, unless you have something that's totally blowing your mind, let's just talk about start with the Microsoft keynote.
Sure.
And then we can bounce from there. Some statistics that were shown: over 5 million PSTN enabled users in the past 12 months. Does that mean all users, or just in the last 12 months, 5 million have been added?
That's 5 million added in the
5 million added in the last 12 months. So we don't have the full thing.
No.
500,000 active Teams Rooms devices as of November. So they said it's growing at a good pace. We're probably at 600,000 by now. 1,900 third-party apps in the Teams store. For Jimmy Vaughn, they led with Copilot. Copilot.
Yeah.
Anybody want to say anything about Copilot that you learned this week, or anything new or exciting?
I feel like the big announcement for Copilot came out last week. They did incorporate it into the keynote, and they showed off some of the features. I think Nicole spoke to her being testing it basically and building her own PowerPoint with it. But I felt like that wasn't the huge headline for me. It was the new themes, really,
Well,
right?
hold on.
No?
On Copilot, the one thing that I saw new was follow meeting. So when you're double booked on a meeting in your Outlook calendar, there's join, and then there's follow going to be added. So you select follow, and then the Copilot will just join the meeting for you, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
And then when you're done with your primary meeting, it'll just give you the recap of what you've missed so far in that meeting or in the whole meeting. So they added.
I feel like that button should be called skip meeting, but that's not appropriate. Like follow sounds like you care.
Asynchronous.
Less important meeting. Have they finally added like RSVPing internal or remotely? Did they ever add that?
No, it never got to mainstream.
Still not there yet.
No.
This seems like it's also a thing that is on that same mindset of I'm going to RSVP in person or RSVP virtually. I'm going to RSVP not going to be there.
Yeah. I mean, it's really interesting. If this works, I mean, like from what you've seen of ChatGPT, if it works as well as it should, it's going to be a genuine option. Then it'll be interesting to see how many people are just like, well, I'll just take the summary. You know,
Yeah, and nobody's going to be in there.
Yeah. You'll be presenting to nobody, and then AI will summarize it for you.
They hand out all the action items.
This meeting could have been an AI summary.
Yeah.
And then the final thing on Copilot before we get into new things, and hi, Karsten and LinkedIn users. Use Copilot when joining late to catch up, and you can catch the mood of the meeting. So you're joining 10 minutes late, right? So just whatever. You got home late, or you got to the meeting room late, you got to your PC late. You can ask Copilot, what have I missed in the last 10 to 20 minutes? And then what's the mood of the meeting? Is it contentious? Is it friendly? Is it combative? She also showed give me a pros cons list of the, I've missed it. There's been a discussion.
Yeah.
And it'll say, these are the pros for launching the product or on time, and this is the cons for launching on time. These are the pros for launching the product late that have been discussed in the meeting while you were gone.
And that was shown mid-meeting, but obviously you could do that after meeting as well. So if you had a really involved conversation and you want to get a summary for your report or whatever, you could just ask the AI to summarize the key points, which is really interesting.
It was interesting to me that that's like somewhat capturing sentiment, which isn't something that we've really leveraged AI to do. So I'm really curious to see what kind of impact that's going to have, honestly. Have lots of angry meetings or
Hi, Nate. Hola. Okay, so cheers. Biggest excitement, Teams, air quotes 2.0, because it's not, it is, but it isn't. What's your, Miriam, go.
Well, the biggest thing for me is that.
By the way, I like how we introduced ourselves before we went. We just assumed everybody knows. Hi, I'm Michael Tressler, a senior technical consultant at Jabra and one of the hosts of Teams Friday. You are?
Tom Arbuthnot. I think everybody that's joined this probably knows.
She knows.
All three are.
But you're the managing director, owner, president, chief bottle washer of empowering.cloud.
All of the above, yeah.
Yes.
Cleaner and owner.
Okay.
And Superstar MVP.
Yes.
And I am Maren Corgans. I work for Microsoft. I'm worldwide channel sales lead for Teams Rooms. I'm handling the channel side, all the partners, the fun, where the fun is at, I would say.
And the bright, sparkling star on the Selling Teams Room show every Friday morning.
Missing my
100%.
co-host Jimmy
Yep.
today, yes. But if you do not catch this, or if you want to catch another debrief from Jimmy, those that were attending via JOMO or Joy of Missing Out virtually, he's got the full recap tomorrow with Michelle Boam.
With Michelle Bowman.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that'd be good.
So,
Yeah,
Teams 2.0. Is it really 2.0 or what's the
I don't
excitement
know what
here?
we're calling it, honestly. If that's the
New
official
Teams?
term, the new
I think
Teams.
old Teams is Teams Classic now,
Yeah.
and new Teams is just Teams. So
Teams.
the old one gets Classic.
For me, I'm always the person that is, I think, feeling like I'm running out of bandwidth or whatever. So I think the performance in general, like improving by that significant of an amount, I think they said it was just doubling or improving the performance, things running faster. Like you cannot, that's where I spend majority of my entire day. The impact that is going to have on my life is amazing. But I think the second one that I think is understated, you know, it says one sentence, but so many people took it away, is the ability to navigate between different tenants where,
Yes.
you know, I'm in 3 different organizations, chats, and I don't want to have to navigate in and out of each platform to be able to see it. That was a really impactful
So
announcement as well.
the video could be, you know, it's a video, it's marketing.
Right.
When I go to another tenant, does it spin up another copy of Teams? That's the way it looked to me. Like I would have, they say, in my case, the Jabra Teams here, and I go to Tap 100, I'd have the Microsoft in a I'd have 2 copies of Teams.
Not really.
Or,
So
yeah.
it's more like the mobile client. So they're running simultaneously. So things like push notifications will come through, and that's the big evolution of the experience. Is it's multi-tenant, multi-account concurrently. You can still tenant switch as well, but it's not running instances. It's just switching faster than it used to switch, basically. But what the difference is, you can run a meeting because you pop out.
Right.
The meeting in your primary tenant carries on, and you can switch tenants without at the moment.
Without losing the
yeah,
meeting.
it cuts the meeting up. So it just if you think about mobile works, you're getting that kind of experience, but on desktop, basically.
Yeah, so they said really quickly, it's faster meeting join, faster app launch, faster installation, less memory, less disk, multi-tenant support, and then use Loop to create a collaborative agenda. So here's the rest of my notes. My dog ate my
So
homework,
nice.
and my laptop munged my paper. Anything there? Loop got a little bit of a call. Has anybody done much with Loop yet?
I feel like it's sort of the thread behind everything. I don't know that you know necessarily that you're using Loop in every case, but it's sort of the thread weaving everything together, right? So
Yeah, I'm thinking inside our workflow internally where Loop could be used as far as sales reps request our time. It just goes to an Excel spreadsheet. Can we then loopify that and then make it like a visible in our Teams, like have a tab within Teams? That way we don't have to change Teams, find the Arctic document. We're in our Teams channel most of the day anyway, or even in our chat, and there's a tab, and then there's the Loop component.
Here's the big thing. You take that scenario. The thing that's great about Loop is that living document will be the same in email as it is in Teams. So you like living in Teams, your sales rep likes living in email, you're both editing the same live document. It's like for the want of a better word, like an iframe into an Excel sheet that's live everywhere.
Right.
So in the email it'll work, in Teams it'll work, in the Loop app it'll be the same again. It's a bit like, for anybody that knows Notion, it's that similar concept, but now super embedded to Office 365, which is exciting.
Tom, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I don't know what this. Scott Francis is asking. Wanted to ask if you heard of any new features for call queues.
So
Other than if the SIP
they now.
phones or no?
No.
No.
So the big announcement on call queues and auto attendants was just that you can do the delegated guest greeting change. So this has been coming for a while, really big ask, where you can give the local office the ability to change the greeting without having to go raise an admin ticket and getting a Teams admin to do it. Didn't hear any other features than that, but that's the big one. I think there's more coming with that kind of delegated admin as well.
Anything else on Teams? New Teams? Teams 2? I know you've got the blog announcement.
Really.
See something, because there was a lot mentioned on the keynote, but there's even more in the blogs, and I don't have a blog thing other than the things that are important too.
There's a lot that wasn't talked about in the keynote. There's so much. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think I would say I haven't gone through the blog even in full detail. There's so much to really get through, but it's the flexibility, I think, with the multi-tenant ability. There was collaborative notes in Teams meetings, speaker coach in Teams meetings.
Oh, speaker coach, didn't we have that inside Microsoft a while ago? Because I used it and it was kind of cool. And then
Yeah.
it went away and I forgot it existed and now it's coming back. So clearly they took the feedback from the live test within Microsoft and
Yeah.
tweaked it to bring it back.
I think it's all embedded. I feel like I've had speaker coach in PowerPoint.
Yes, that's
but
been there a
not
long
in
time.
Teams.
Did you ever use it in Teams in Microsoft? So what it does, it is after you get off, so you can turn it on, and after you get done with the call, it brings you to a screen where it shows some summary, but then it'll email you like you spoke too fast, you need to take more breaks, you spoke at a high level, you spoke at a low level, you
Repetitive
speak
language.
repetitive
Yeah.
language, you use the word or repetitive language.
Mhm.
So what else was in there is so they coach you through all that kind of thing so that you can then I did a demo exercise once and an executive leadership kind of thing where you write a speech and you give it to the camera and then you watch yourself, and it's amazing.
So uncomfortable.
Not as just but some people often
Yeah.
like Tom. Here's what I like about like you understand, you get, or you know, and you don't know you say that until you watch yourself.
So's another one. Everybody's like, so this, so that, so.
Yeah. So the
We
speaker
all have
coach,
these little like crunch words we lean on.
yeah. So I don't know, or I don't know if they pulled it out to Copilot it, like to large language model it
Yeah.
to get a bigger whatever. But it's good to see that coming back because it did give me. I mean, I'm pretty great, so I really didn't need it.
It was just like everything's fine, Michael. You,
Correct. It's
you
like-
carry on doing your thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
5 stars out of 10.
Well, there's 6 categories actually. So there's repetitive language, inclusiveness, which is another good one, pace, filler words, which you mentioned,
Yeah, pace was definitely when you speak too fast, too slow.
monologue and annotation. I don't know what that means, but
Yeah, monologue is you just
You do
spoke
it.
for 3 minutes.
No
and,
pauses for breath of
Yeah.
letting anybody to engage with you.
but very cool. And it's private. It doesn't get shared
Correct.
with everybody
Yeah.
else.
Just comes
So
to
that's
you.
important.
Yep.
Don't have to be shy about that. So then there was avatars, which was also in our booth as well.
Martin, who's going to be joining us, he's speaking with important people.
Yeah.
He gave me the run through because I tried it this morning real fast. I'm like, give me my avatar. Things I learned. There's an Things I learned was you have to install the Avatars app from within Teams. So go to the Teams App Store, install the Avatars app. Then you can create your avatar. Sorry. Then basically at the meeting join screen, you can select effects and avatars, I think it was called, and then you can select an avatar versus your camera. Have you done it yet?
I've set up my avatar. I haven't used it in a meeting yet. I didn't spend enough time really. I don't love my avatar yet.
I think avatars are for like we're all pretty heavy on video.
Yeah.
So like it's like why would you swap that? I think for people who don't use video, it gives them an extra option to engage.
So one of my use cases is lunch. There's a meeting at lunchtime. I think it's rude to see me eating a sandwich and for 20 minutes. So just avatar it up. I'm here. I'm active.
Yeah.
I'm not just because my mindset is when you're on camera and then you don't, you've left the room. you're gone. You've pieced out.
Yeah.
You've done something, and then when you turn your camera back on, you're gone. This is the way of going. Oh, my food arrived. I'm going to switch to avatar. I'm still here and active.
Yeah.
I'm still present, but for whatever reason, I don't want you to see my real background or what I'm doing, like eating a giant
Your
pizza.
avatar's not going to be putting food
Correct.
up to you.
Right.
Yeah. Very cool. So yeah, we're more on the keynote. I've got the blog up. But
Okay, so then it went to calling, meeting, and devices. So they mentioned Teams Phone was the market leader, very confidently. I'm not sure what metric, but okay, like
I think that's cloud PSTN seats. So depending on how you measure it, everybody makes that argument. But I think you can look at where Microsoft are with traction of how phone seats, and it's definitely up.
Teams Phone mobile update. I think that pretty much just said there were a couple new carriers. So that's what I got out of it.
Yeah, it was just an update that it's in market. BT in the UK still coming, so imminent, but the other markets are all live.
Hotline phones is something you could do in the analog world a long time ago. Imagine the red phone, you pick it up and it calls the security desk. So right now, if you have a native Teams phone and you don't want to mess with call plans and dial plans, you can make it work. You have to hit a button.
Yeah, you have to hit a
You
button.
have to hit a button. Now you can just pick it up and the back phone immediately dials who it needs to. So that's just something I think also for warehouses. Just you pick it up and you call the warehouse.
Yeah,
and,
like delivery reception scenarios where they just says pick up phone and something will also ring.
Yep. So it doesn't have to be security. And then a virtual front desk. Interesting. As best I understood it, there's a Teams display in the lobby, but your receptionist, whatever, is secure. She's behind the door. And so you walk up, you hit the button on the Teams. I walk into the lobby, hit the button.
Yeah.
It then connects an ad hoc call basically with the receptionist on her Teams display. She can talk to you and then buzz you in.
Yeah,
or give you
it seems
instructions.
like you might have one, you've got multiple offices for one person somewhere that's responsible for the welcome of all those offices, or out of hours, you could have East Coast, West Coast, someone could cover both potentially physically.
That's
virtually.
a good call. Yeah, I hadn't thought about
Safety,
geographically.
like to your point, safety.
Yeah,
was
safety's a
like
good
wanting
one.
to be the first line.
Yeah, it was live on the booth as well, so it's you
Yeah.
have one button and you get a nice video experience. They were showing it with a neat frame, which I think is quite a good use case.
Yeah,
It's
that
like a
neat frame.
vertical form factor.
And good job, Microsoft, supporting your partners. Neatframe was making the call in the Crestron UC10 was receiving the
Yes,
call.
yeah, I've got a video of that for the blog.
Okay. QR code sign-in. Both of those features are coming next quarter. So they're coming soon. QR code sign-in for hot desking, I think, is massive. My main friction point is there's two. One, you have to go to settings, hot desking. It's kind of hard to discover how to hot desk. And then you literally have to sit there and type in your username and password. Again, maybe two-factor. The way I get this is you break up your phone, take a picture of the QR code. It asks what app you want to use. You select Teams, the native Teams app you're already signed into. Then magic happens, and then you're signed into your hot desk.
Yep. Yeah, the QR code it'll be a Teams link, so it'll fire off the Teams app, and away you go. Like much like you see, I assume the same mistakes like Netflix signing, that kind of thing. It's like
Correct.
QR code on TV, magic sign in, off you go.
I have not had the opportunity to do any sort of hot testing, but it is demoed in our booth, which is now closing here in about 5 to 10 minutes. But it's in a couple of booths. I think we had it in.
Yeah, it was on the
Galen,
neat. It was on the Neat's
D10.
booth as well. Yeah, it's Teams display, isn't it? So any of the Teams displays will inherit that.
Things that make you go, what? There were Cisco certified devices in the Microsoft booth.
Hey, everybody's friends now, Mike. We're all friends.
What? Board Pro and Desk Pro are now Microsoft Teams certified.
Yeah.
So I don't know anything about the Board Pro or the Desk Pro. I think the Board Pro is like the Neat Board or the L-Link, whatever it is, the large all-in-one
Interface,
Surface
all
Hub kind of thingy.
Yeah.
And the Desk Pro is kind of like a display.
Yeah, Teams display.
We were featured in their keynote as well. So Ilya brought Cisco into our keynote.
Correct. And they brought.
And they brought in us that, which I did not know was happening, and I missed the Cisco keynote. So I'm gonna have to
I
go
wouldn't
back.
say I missed it.
So, but yeah, we actually have products in their booth. They have products in ours. So we're happy family.
So this is when Frank Buchholz told me. When did this thing start? Monday? This is Monday,
Yeah,
Tuesday,
Monday.
Wednesday?
Yeah,
Okay, so
today's
Sunday,
Wednesday.
when I was helping set up the Jobber booth, I saw Frank Buchholz over there. And he told me this, and I more or less kept it quiet. I think I may have shared it with no one, including Tom. Shared it with no one, Frank.
Yeah, you're else. Tell nobody except one friend.
The Surface Hub. So the Surface Hub runs something called Windows Team OS, not Teams, Team OS. And it is a stepchild variant of Windows 10. And they don't update it often, but it is very secure. So it only runs Windows Store apps. And you have Edge that'll get you to things. And that's going away. Windows Surface Hub will now be a Microsoft Teams room, meaning, as we sit here today, running Windows 10 IoT, the same Teams rooms application you see on any Microsoft Teams rooms on Windows. It becomes the first, essentially, Microsoft Teams rooms on Windows board.
Yeah, this is really interesting. So obviously right now, Service Hub, you say, runs the Team OS. You can take a Service Hub and run it with regular Windows if you want.
Correct. That is supported.
Supported
use case.
but not many people do that. But yeah, it's going to be a legit. It'll run Windows and it will run Microsoft Teams on Windows. So it'll be all the features will come at exactly the same time. It will essentially just be a Teams room on Windows. But you've got 2.5 years of like.
Yeah, Frank told me 2025 is when the Team OS support will go,
Yeah.
and they'll just force the new.
Yeah,
At that point, it'll be some Windows 11 IoT build.
Yeah, so you can either run, exactly. Or you can still take them to native Windows 11 if you wanted, but there won't be that Windows Team option. I think it's good. A lot of Service Hubs get run basically as Microsoft Teams rooms, but they're not. So they'll get all those features. But it'll be interesting to see what happens around the apps, because obviously you can run UWP apps on Service Hub, you can't on Teams
And
Room today.
Edge was a great use case because before third-party guest join, but even still today, you can join a Blue Jeans meeting by breaking up the Edge in HTML5.
Yeah.
You can join Blue Jeans is announced for Teams. Go to Google Meet. Is who knows when that's coming to the Microsoft ecosystem?
I guess in 2 years we'll probably see DJI, Great Guest Join, have more of those vendors anyway. But I definitely think some people will be interested to see Teams as a platform. Teams has apps. Teams displays have apps. What's going to happen with Teams rooms? More specifically, the boards. That's a good use case, I think, for apps.
And then this, I mean, they mentioned it, it's obvious, but I hadn't even when Frank mentioned it, I didn't think of this. All Teams Room certified peripherals will be supported on Surface Hub because it's running the Windows whatever version of the time.
And right now, some do, some don't. It's a messy
Well,
story.
it's because drivers are a problem on Windows Team OS because you can't install x32 or x64 apps. They have to be UWP.
That's a big plus. Things like extended mics, I would assume.
Fancy Jabra bars, that kind of thing.
Like the Panacast 50, which we are using today. Did you know what the Panacast 50 is? A leading soundbar in the industry today, powered by state-of-the-art advanced.
We've only been doing that spiel for 3 days straight.
Yeah, exactly. We're doing this from the Jabra suite, so that's what we're using at Panacast 50. Marin, something that completely didn't blow your mind is bring your own device in Microsoft and be your own device management.
All right, this is the next hour go.
Process.
My mind just kind of like completely flipped upside down. You would think that we get private preview or insinuation. I don't. You might, but I
had no idea it was coming.
Really did not know that was coming. And when we talk about,
okay, I lied. I had a clue, but I didn't think it was coming now. I thought it was something that because in TAP 100 there was a meeting, but I thought this was like way future forward. Now maybe what that meeting was way future forward. I was not expecting an announcement like now.
Yeah, I'm still wrapping my mind around it. I think Tom and I spoke prior to this of just kind of it changes the landscape really. Obviously, we know that there's a lot of rooms out there that are leveraging BYOD. I think it's nice that we're kind of putting our arms around it. The big issue that when we talk to customers is I have no idea what my room landscape is because there's no analytics. There's nothing to really give us any view into the usage or anything like that. So I think for us to be able to have some sort of BYOD solution really changes the game completely. It's more of questions on how, because I think initially it was Crestron was on stage.
Media.
He did kind of open the door to say, and other things like displays and blah, 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 where there's technology where it was like, wait, what are all those other things? I want to know. So yeah, for me, it's really exciting. I think it opens the door to many possibilities.
Yeah, and your reaction is accurate for a Microsoft employee because when at Microsoft, you're in the Microsoft bubble, and the story is Teams rooms in every room. BYOD is terrible. And so then suddenly that balloon got popped, and it's like BYD is okay, not as good as Teams Room.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
Wait a second. How's it okay?
This is nice to see Microsoft listening to customers, right? Like it's still not going to be the same experience as a Teams room. That's always going to be your premier option. But there are certain rooms where budget constraints, size of room, where BYD is a play. So I think Microsoft's trying to make that as good as it can be, basically.
And I thought the Crestron demo was great because Crestron, what you saw on screen was what looked like a Teams Rooms on Android like visual with a calendar option on the right. Yeah. So it looks kind of like your other conference rooms, but there's like zero team software going on. Yeah. It's just Crestron playing nice with Microsoft.
Your laptop. I guess for people that didn't see it, basically this is like a dongle going into a laptop. The laptop is bringing the compute. There's a low compute Android device that's running the screen. That's the media. In that case, it's wireless. It could be wired, but you're hitting a more aggressive price point for that type of room.
Yeah. Roughly $1,000. And
I think that's Crestron's unit. There'll be other units in market at other price points.
So a couple things what's super interesting is that the Crestron reports into Teams Rooms Pro.
Yes.
You don't have to use Crestron XIO. You can be a Teams Rooms Pro person, and it's boom, there it is in your portal. So one place to look at that. The other part is that I've used dongles previously before, and you plug in the dongle, mass storage device opens, you double click to install the agent. This is agentless. Yeah, so you plug it in just like any Teams device. Right? So it's HID, keyboard, mouse, screen, whatever it goes. The other thing, and now we're on to page 2 of the notes, and I believe I was told this is a new team's requirement, is when they showed that Crestron intermediate demo, they hit a Teams button, and the presentation section, whatever it's called, stage
Stage.
of Teams, showing your PowerPoint, your shared desktop, whatever, that gets sent over their media to the display, and your chat stay private.
Yeah, this is part of the why BYOD is better in this scenario, because BYOD previous to this, you jacked in your laptop and immediately your email showed up on the big screen.
That's what we're doing here, right?
We can see all your chats.
Yeah.
We can see, we're seeing the StreamYard interface on the big screen, just so you guys can play along. It's more interesting.
We're all friends.
But
here,
you
so
see the
it's
whole
fine.
screen, so if someone were to private message me something
Yeah.
that's off, not cool, you guys would see it. Whereas in this mode,
we can
wouldn't see my
we can
private
joke
chats.
about that, but that can be a serious problem if
Yeah.
the wrong person sees the wrong thing. So it does some intelligence about, I'll send the stage to the screen and I'll keep your desktop on your desktop.
Right. And that's a Teams only feature. So if you're using a different application, you're going to show the
it's
whole
Teams is
desktop.
doing that clever stuff.
Right.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's it. That's my last one from the keynote.
Okay.
Any other thoughts of this stuff before we dig into the non-keynote things?
I feel like we hit on a lot of it. There was really just a lot that was not covered in the keynote. So we talked about Hub.
Yes.
I don't think we really got into front row at all, but I think AI functionality, new feature capability,
So elaborate. Front row and AI feature.
No,
what do we got going on?
I personally my favorite part about going to a show is to experience products hands-on first. And so I think that there's just a lot of capability. Everybody's excited about ChatGPT and Copilot being embedded, but I think but I think that the AI capabilities of all the hardware are starting to come out in a lot of these booths. It was exciting, that was the top track, and I don't think a lot of it was mainstream announcements, but a lot of the development behind the scenes is really incorporating some of it. So
And one of the things I knew, because I showed this to you at the ViewSonic booth, but I really didn't know until I saw Prime View. There was a Microsoft Prime View Jabra AVISPL Crestron event in Tampa. Hi, Martin. Was the intelligence that monitors have nowadays. It's no longer just a dumb screen. The one I showed you from ViewSonic, it's it has antenna and not rabbit ears. These are antenna for Bluetooth, for Wi-Fi.
Yes.
There's a lot of intelligence. So there's actual
This is
Chrome
where
OS and whatever running on these
the low
things.
compute Android device story gets interesting. I don't have any insider info here, but you can see the logic of, if you can run that Teams Room BYOD experience in a dongle, you can probably run it in a monitor. You get to a point where you have a single mount monitor, you have Miracast, or you have a USB-C,
Or the dongle or whatever.
Exactly, away you go. Yeah, so really interesting future for that one. Stay tuned to see what's coming.
a lot of new certified devices this week, right?
Well, there were some Jabra things, but let's move on.
Okay.
Let's talk about Jabra.
Jabra Evolve
We're going to make you
Speak
talk about Jabra,
Oh
Michael.
God, I got to look up the website what the products are. The 40, there's some Speak to Evolve. I don't know. The 65 Flex, the 50, it's like exam. The 55 and the 40. The 40 is wired, is the best I remember. The 50, I don't know. Look up Jabra.com.
I picked
Look
up
at
a
the thing.
sticker. I'm sure it was 65 Flex.
The 65 Flex. That's the hero one. Qi wireless charging.
Yeah, and you were showing the new Speak 2s.
The Speak 2s have been out for a while. I can actually talk about those because I've used them. I got this.
I've got the 75 now. It's really,
It is really
really
nice. Isn't it?
impressive. Yeah.
What about the new chip set? Android.
Oh, the new Android OS.
Yes.
We're talking about, you mean the Microsoft Teams devices ecosystem platform?
Yes.
Martin, are you familiar
Snappy.
with the Microsoft Teams device?
Give us a briefing, Martin.
MT Depth.
I stopped by you gave me a good lowdown on it.
Yeah, okay, so should I give the lowdown?
I think you deserve
Okay, so
the time in
thank you. Buried down in yesterday's Microsoft
It's in
Tech
the
Community
blog, yeah.
article. Well down. I think
It
it's
is well done. Isn't it?
well down. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think it is a big statement. I think it's a big Microsoft statement that should be amplified higher. Microsoft is a Windows company, right? Even though most of Azure runs Linux servers, that's okay. And even though Linux is now a native client on Windows subsystem, that's okay. Microsoft dabbled their toes in Android for the Surface Duo and the Surface Duo 2.
Yeah.
But that's such a niche device. Nobody uses it. So Microsoft and Android. Okay, there's Teams rooms on Android, but really they're just using the Android app for the mobile and customizing it. So, and a lot of you here watching are Teams runs people, and especially Teams runs on Android. One of the problems facing Teams rooms is there's fragmentation. So it's annoying, even when I was at Microsoft, to say like, hey, front row on Android is coming next week for Link and Neat devices. In 2 weeks, it's coming for Poly. In 3 weeks to Logitech. In 4 weeks to ePause and audio codes. You're like, why? Like, why? It's just an app. Why can't they all be at the same time? So that's one problem. So that's due to fragmentation, that every vendor's Android OS needs to support something. And then the vendors have committed to Microsoft. We'll have it in 6 weeks.
Yes, they all have a slightly different flavor.
Yeah,
Right.
well, it's different chipsets, different flavors
Yep.
of Android. They have to all update their Android. So
And then the other problem is, and being a Jabra employee, we're about to release our first Android Jabra. I don't know what it's called. We're calling it Jabra OS. I don't know if that's the official name. If you're an IT security company, how much value would you put into a company that is releasing their first Android in 3 months?
well, if they're Jabra, obviously.
Yeah.
Well, obviously.
So that first OS.
How much do you trust Logitech or Neat or ePause or the audio codes there as secure companies who can manage, maintain, and properly track a secure operating system?
And that's been the challenge. Is every one of those has to jump through loops in enterprise customers to convince those customers that they are serious about
Great.
it.
And then are they coding according to security standards? Yes, we say that, but do they have a 40-year track record of writing operating systems? And roughly 20 years since the Microsoft the memo came out that we have to do security first. So Microsoft has at least a 20-year history of writing secure operating systems, and we know it's working because governments around the world are using Windows in their most secure environments. So, long way to get around to the point of what is Microsoft Teams devices ecosystem platform. Microsoft is writing an Android that will go in Teams devices. So, Jabra, we are fortunate to be the first ones to have that. It'll get released later this year. Look for timing. But based on the Qualcomm chip that we're putting in the Panicast 50 video bar system is the latest and greatest, which has all those system on chip level security features. I don't know them all. I still have to learn them. But TPMs and TEE and all this stuff at the Qualcomm chip layer, then Microsoft is going to write using all of that chip level security, then use all of Microsoft's 20 plus years of security operating system
taking
writing experience.
the Android source, the Android open source project. So like
Correct.
everybody takes the Android open source and then they customize it
Correct.
and tweak it, and Microsoft will be doing that themselves, which they were already doing, like you said, for the mobile device that they
Right.
had, but now they're doing it for rooms.
Yeah, so if they've sold 1 million Duos, I'm making up a number, there's how many millions of Teams devices? That includes telephones, panels, all of that. Not today, not day one, but over the course of time, looking forward, this could be Microsoft's biggest Android distribution.
I think undoubtedly it will be.
Yeah.
Just the maths of it and the amount of rooms. It's going to be really interesting for the Android ecosystem because that's been one of the sticking points on Android is the security conversation. And
Correct.
Like people, some customers love it, some customers don't. But now getting that Microsoft stamp of approval, like you say, it will be at the time as people have changed chipsets, add that OS.
Within 24 hours, my peers have had conversations with customers in these rooms, in these quiet, sweet breakout rooms, where the customer said, well, we're not interested in Android. What if we told you Microsoft is writing the Android, and the tone of the conversation changed? Oh, really?
Interesting.
So Microsoft is going to write it, yes. And it's going to have native support for Intune, Endpoint Manager. But I was talking to a peer, and just the way he said something blew something open. The problem with Teams Rooms Pro, the problem with any Teams device is management. Teams Rooms Pro can only see Teams, the Teams activity. It can't see, or at least they're not reporting, they're not showing CPU temperature. It's not showing available disk space. It's not showing drop network packets inherently, kind of, but not at the network level, just what gets to the stack. If Microsoft is writing the operating system, can't the admin agent now see the entire operating system? So the need to go to, in our case, the Jabra platform to see the whole story, won't that all potentially be in Teams Rooms Pro? And you can see all the way down to the chip level.
It feels like on some timeline, it's definitely plausible, isn't it? I mean, there is already an agent experience to get Android to work on Teams Room Pro, so they just get baked into the OS.
So now you put it into the OS, or you expand it and say, if you're on the Microsoft Android build, you can now see everything on the hardware level.
The other thing that I'm excited about is the supportability timeline gets interesting because now We're going to know what the chipset is. We're going to know who's responsible for the operating system. So previously, the vendors had to go to the stock manufacturer and say, I want an update. And the stock manufacturer would say, that's £1 billion for the next version of Android. And then they say, no, we don't want to do that. So now, again, no insider knowledge, but you can see Microsoft have a relationship now
with Qualcomm.
With the vendor, with the chipset vendor, and with the OS supportability. So hopefully we'll see more like the Windows story, where Microsoft have a really long timeline for support on some of these products.
Yeah, so that wasn't even in the keynote.
No. But I think by this conversation, it was a super techie conversation.
Yeah.
Like, that's not keynote material.
But no, I think keynote, you go high level. Hey, we're going to write an Android for our devices. Trusted, secure, cross-platform, built on Qualcomm state-of-the-art modern security chipsets.
Yeah,
high performant, low energy Qualcomm goodness. Yeah. You could say that because they did choose to go with the Surface Hub thing, but I don't think the Surface Hub story landed. That TeamOS is gone. Your ability to run apps is going out the window. You're going to run Teams rooms or install your own version of Windows. I think that didn't land. It was hey, they're going to become Teams Rooms devices. I'm like, they already are a Teams Rooms device. Come on. You rebranded the Teams client Teams Rooms like a year ago. So I don't think it landed. Had I not talked to Frank, I don't think it would have landed that, they're throwing Teams OS to the curb.
Yeah. I think the reality of Surface Hub, certainly with the customers I work with, people buy it and they talk about doing all the apps and all the things, and then it turns into basically a whiteboard and a meeting room device. So I think there's not going to be such a massive outcry for changing them to Teams Rooms. And I do hear a lot of conversation with people like, well, why don't I have Front Row on my Surface Hub? Like that's the premier Microsoft experience in Rooms, and this is your device. Why do I not get this?
I think this is one good for you from Nate. Another announcement, and I just point to you. I'm like, it's going to be user config of emergency locations. We had this in the Skype for Business days when you could type in your own address. So it's good to see that coming to Teams. So Nate, good call out of another thing that wasn't keynoted, but a big announcement.
Do more with less at the end.
That's very on message, Nate. Well done. Yeah.
I think core queues I don't know who called that one out as well. Management of core queues. I don't know, it's in the.
Yeah, you're busy talking to someone, not us. So you missed that. You're gonna have to watch. You're gonna have to watch the video. See what we had to say.
I'm behind.
Yes, you are. Any thoughts on OEM developments and different aspect ratios? Any preferences? That's a very geeky question.
That's fine. It's a geeky audience. Don't judge people.
So I think this heads towards 21 by 9.
Yeah. I saw more 21 by 9 on the floor again. Same at ISE. Some new vendors as well showing Front Row on 21 by 9. So it's becoming more prevalent, I think.
Yeah, it was a thing I heading into the Prime View thing in Tampa. Thanks for attending. The 21 by 9.
Small jab.
You weren't missed. That's a bigger jab. I was looking because there's a front row event and Prime View had their monitor there. Actually, in the docs article, it says Microsoft recommends 21 by 9 for Front Row, which was like, wait, what? I thought it was 16 by 9, but it worked with 21 by 9. It's 21 by 9 as well. Yeah. If you're doing Front Row, do 21 by 9. So for development, different aspect ratios, I think 21 by 9 for Front Row. I think, and you guys who've been watching, and the Teams and Teams Rooms is getting better with 21 by 9 and other gallery views. I don't think that we're there yet, but I think at some point, if Microsoft is saying 21 by 9 is for our signature room, and it's just a view, it's just a layout. Where's Jimmy? The other views will have to adapt to that as well. As far as any preferences, I don't know. They're so far they all look good. Like if I can afford one of those monitors, they all look good.
Yeah. We have Front Row set up in our booth, and I think that's using the Jupiter?
Jupiter, you're right. It is Jupiter in your booth.
We saw it at ViewSonic. It was set up there. It's also set up at Avacor. I don't think D10 was 21 by 9, but they had a dual screen set up. Yeah. So I mean, if we were at ISE, same thing. It's 21 by 9 is
Maxi Hub, another one I saw.
Max Hub,
Max Hub, they had it.
Gosh, it's everywhere. Yeah. So
I think the price point is starting to come. As more competitors coming to the market, the price point on it is coming down. There's still a premium, but
there is some issues with 21 by 9 when joining a meeting, a regular, just using Team rooms regularly. That the self view is not reflective of what the remote attendee sees because the way it's stretched out. That there's still some coding from Microsoft to get the resolutions correct for the self view.
Yeah.
Because I tested like, man, this looks terrible, and with my coworkers like, no, you look great. We've already been down this road. The self view is not reflective of what the end user, what the remote party sees on a 21 by 9 display.
We'll see. I think what we were previewing the black backgrounds again.
That's
Went
nice.
back to,
Yes.
which
Yeah,
it looks
yeah,
really good. And then I think in May is when that's supposed to hit, as well as the changing of chat size, right?
Oh, the
Front
font
row?
being larger.
Font,
Yeah.
or you can also change gallery size too. I think that's all in the May-ish timeframe. roadmap
So like
wise.
417 kind of thing.
So those were the front row updates. And then from a certified device, we also had Poly certified with their G70 is what it is?
Yeah, the Android.
It's
Oh,
all in one
Poly.
bar for large conference rooms.
You're talking about Poly? Sorry, I was reading
Sorry.
the next question.
Poly.
Yeah,
Yes.
Poly 4.0 was announced,
Yeah.
which gets them, the 70 and the 75 certified.
Yeah, I think they certified that, or that they were showing their buds as well.
Mhm.
Yes.
Lots of personal devices got certified. I think there's like at least 12 of them in the mix here.
Little buds are different. They've got kind of the
Little- kind of like an iPod
They're
Air
very,
kind of
very
thing.
iPod inspired. Yeah, they've got the
Yeah.
tail
Yeah.
and they've got a little OLED on their front.
But they're black, so they look less obnoxious than the Apple ones, which are these white things. It's like those like hipster earrings you're wearing, or those just overpriced, overrated headphones. Oh, it kind of could be, probably both.
I'm not
Yeah.
certified.
Correct. While you're waiting, there's a great question that came in. Thanks, Douglas. Do you think that the Microsoft owning Android will help the disparity between MTRO-A and MTRO-W and get them closer together? The Microsoft story has always been, and there's truth to this, is that Microsoft owns Windows, so it's easier to code to it, easier to add things to the operating system to support Teams, Rooms, Windows. Now, Android, let's not forget, was always meant for a personal device, not a shared space device. It was never meant originally to handle dual screens and all this fun stuff in conference rooms. So there is things to be done. However, I think, and this is just a guess, Douglas, I think you're on the right path, that owning the operating system makes it easier for them to write extensions necessary to support the things missing in Android that Windows has, that at an operating system that Windows has.
Yeah, I think so. It's definitely not an overnight thing, but you're right. There's one less conversation there to be
Does it
had.
keep showing mine? Oh, it keeps showing my name as the only one because we're all in the call together. Let me get rid of that. Maybe. Sorry.
But yeah,
At least it's under you. Cool.
but also the chipset vendors will start to see, as this proliferates, those chipset vendors want
Here we go.
to be the primary device in those rooms, right? So you've got Intel and AMD on the Windows side, you've got Qualcomm and others on the Android side. So if they can build some more scenarios for rooms and push more chips, then they'll be happy. So yeah, I don't think it's going to be overnight, but I think Douglas makes a good point. It will definitely get easier.
Yeah, because I think they've hit a real, I don't want to say roadblock, but it's apparently a difficult computer science problem to to copy custom backgrounds on Android. The way is like right now, Tom, the challenge is copy a file onto my phone.
I just transfer it to you somehow. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Interesting. There's
whereas
no-
on a PC
yeah.
drive and a thumb drive, OneDrive, there's a million ways to copy a file. Here, it's like, well, I could connect the thumb drive if it has the whatever, and then that's a way to do it, but that's not the way you do it on Teams, Rooms, Windows. You've got SMB and a million other protocols. This you don't really have. You need an app to support.
Yeah, and then you have to secure the
file
app.
transfer. You got to support the app, so it's
Yeah.
not quite as easy. So I think now they could write that app, the file transfer app that they control, and it's not. It could be some variant of OneDrive or something.
It'll be really interesting to see what the timeline is as to which vendors adopt the new chipset and the OS on what timeline and how that affects features.
Yeah,
So
and to be clear on the Teams thing, I just want to say Jabra will be first with Microsoft Android, but ultimately not the only.
No.
The other vendors, as they release new products using at least this Qualcomm generation and later,
yeah, you guys
then have the option.
you guys
to
have just
move.
hit the timing.
We just hit the
quite
magic.
well,
We hit the
yeah.
magic window
Yeah.
of a new product, same chipset that Microsoft was looking to find a partner with. Thanks. Thanks, engineers.
Yeah. Very cool.
it'll also be interesting, like playing devil's advocate. Like some of the OEMs do other things with their Android OS. They have other things in place. So do they all want to jump to Microsoft's Android OS? Will be a question.
Yeah, is there a competitive advantage to like we control the Android, so we can do these things,
Yeah,
whereas
yeah, you
Microsoft
know.
has to be a little generic and
Yeah.
can or won't
Is
support some
Microsoft's
things.
Android going to allow you to do the things that maybe a Logic can do, where they're like flipping between vendors automatically? I don't know.
Or swipe into for camera controls,
Yeah,
things
yeah.
like that. Will that be open for us to write that, or is it going to be like,
Well, the other thing that's kind of interesting is just make it a SKU that has to be a Microsoft Teams Room SKU specific. Right?
Yeah.
So what to that point, what I've heard
Oh, this is breaking.
hasn't been mentioned. So
between all of us, don't tell anybody.
I should now check to see if this was for public thing. I'll phrase it this way: it raises the issue for Zoom rooms. All vendors support them. It's just an app on Android. To my simple mind, it would seem like you could just run Zoom rooms on top of Microsoft Android, and thus have a more secure Zoom room, and everybody wins, including Zoom and the other plugins, Tencent, and the other ones that are out there, GoToMeeting and whatever. This is just an app. I can run Zoom and Teams on my Google phone, just like you could on the Samsung phone.
Like Mary said, it'll be interesting to see what the licensing terms are around that. Is Microsoft putting that effort in because they want Teams Rooms? They allow the OEMs to take that and use it as the base for the other systems. I don't know.
Yep, it's early days, and I'm going to take one of these while I'm pointing at it. I'm going to get my first Jabra video bar system at home tonight, but it'll be on Jabra OS. The Microsoft one isn't ready for dummy testing yet. It's the engineers still engineering.
They don't trust you yet, Michael.
Yeah, and on the back end, like I just heard that Microsoft just enabled Intune like a week ago on Microsoft OS, Android OS. So that's a long way to go still.
If
For all this
Microsoft
stuff.
can make their Android OS and Intune play nice, then life will be good.
Somebody did bring up a good point. Wouldn't it be awesome, since it's a known Microsoft Android OS, to just add it as a device filter and
that's kind of
conditional
what I'm
access and
expecting.
Intune?
Yeah.
So instead of having to do Android and device type is Poly, you just say if it's Android OS, whatever it's going to end up being called, WinDroid.
I like that. It's catchy.
Because it's the winning droid. So WinDroid, then it'd be a pull down inside CA policies. So you can just say if it's WinDroid, regardless of manufacturer, it will get, because really regardless of manufacturer, it's going to get the same CA and Intune policies. Yeah. If it's a Poly, a Jabra, a Logia, a Neat, we're still going to make there's a limited amount of things we can do with CA and Intune, so that it doesn't matter who the manufacturer is. Because now it's like it's Android and a Poly of this model number, then we know it's a X30 or whatever.
I know some security teams that will be super excited to have Microsoft be accountable for the OS level on those devices.
So those are the things that outside the blog, just speculation of one. The Teams Rooms portal seeing down to the chipset level, and easier CA and Intune. Fingers crossed that some of that comes true.
So there was something stronger security for Teams Rooms devices with Microsoft Defender for endpoints. And two, did you know anything about that?
Nope.
Right. Well, that was somewhere in the blog.
Tom Martin, did that hit your radar?
No, I haven't actually heard much about that.
Yeah.
I wonder if so that's going to be included in Teams Room Pro. That's interesting.
Oh, like the endpoint thing?
Yeah, that's quite a nice little.
Oh, so I think I can, if this is it. So with Teams Rooms Pro, they were always able to look at the security posture of Teams Rooms via Endpoint Manager, but you had to register your Endpoint Manager to the Microsoft Teams Rooms Pro tenant. So if we're Contoso.com and we have all our endpoints pointing to Contoso.com, if we wanted our Teams Rooms in the Teams Rooms portal, we had to point them to Microsoft.com, not to Contoso. Now, and they always said they were working on being able to have Teams Rooms Pro peek into the Contoso.com endpoint and pull out like, hey, there's a virus alert on this Teams Rooms port on this whatever Teams Rooms Windows device. So I think maybe, does that sound like the thing? That's something they were like always wanting to get towards, is you could register all of your Teams Rooms devices into Contoso.com and still see it in Teams Rooms
This
Pro.
looks
That was
like I'm just
the goal.
clicking around as we're talking. It looks like it's the Defender for Endpoint Client. They'll just roll it into the Pro license, so you get that. It's interesting because we've always said Teams Rooms are an appliance. Don't put third-party agents on, but I guess it's first party, isn't it?
So the official story is third-party agents are supported on Teams Rooms until they break Teams Rooms, right? Until it's like, oh, you installed some utility, it's trashed the performance, it's no longer supported. And Microsoft.
Well, it was
only-
always down. It was supported, but your responsibility, wasn't it?
Correct.
That's the line.
and Microsoft only ever tested against Endpoint Manager.
Of course.
Or in Microsoft Defender.
But this might be
You didn't
good
test
because it might
against
mean
all the
that people
other
use
things.
the Microsoft native and don't bother putting their third parties on, and then again, Microsoft are responsible for keeping that performance up.
So, is what this is saying? Teams Rooms Pro is adding the up level.
Yeah, Defender for Endpoint Plan 2 will be included in Teams Room Pro.
Okay, and then I think that opens up the gate to report into the Pro portal
Yes.
for security events.
Yeah.
A lot of nice things hopefully landing in that Pro portal. Even just last month, the amount of new updates to the Pro, feature list is exciting. So rolling out new ones every
Correct.
single month, which is good.
Awesome. I think we've covered everything at Enterprise Connect in 50 minutes. That's quite impressive.
Yeah. There's still so much, honestly. in
Yeah,
the
and then
blog,
there's
but it's like-
other vendors of interest who announce things that may not be specifically to us, but that are still really cool. But I spent most of the time in the booth, so I didn't really get to many vendors to see what they had to announce.
There was a lot. I got around quite a bit. I saw the Lenovo ThinkSmart 1 in their
Yes.
booth, and that
Oh,
is
yeah.
all shipping, which is exciting.
It's a nice sized device, not nearly as big as you would think it
Yeah,
would
we
be.
got that in the Microsoft booth.
Yeah,
The stream was there.
Lenovo
and then
has a-
D10, right? Was that
D10 is
Yeah,
certified.
D10 was showing their team display, weren't they, I think.
I saw the steel case furniture.
Team certified steel case furniture.
Well, they've got it. In
Only
our
if you've
booth.
got Pro, you need a Pro license.
So they got the tables and
Oh,
chairs.
I did. Steel case guy briefly walked by. They're building a new table design for Teams front row.
nice?
Yes, and that's I think what we got in the Microsoft booth is.
Oh, is it the steel
some of
case
that.
table?
Yeah. So I didn't realise that, and then he came and we went through the whole. And they've got a whole portfolio of stuff they're doing for signature rooms, which I wasn't aware of. I know they make the roaming stand for Surface Hub. I didn't realise they've gone into signature Teams rooms furniture.
Anything else? Any final thoughts, Tom?
No, I think the big takeaways for me were like obviously the AI stuff, right? That's going to be revolutionary to the whole industry, but it's going to be over time. But I think the immediate one is the BYOD, the new questionnaire media, and what comes of that. That's going to be quite impactful for everybody.
And on that, the questionnaire media, the dongle, a few months from now it'll go live.
Yeah.
They'll have a non-Teams variant next month, I think, and then the Teams variant in 2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
Apparently, there are 10 Teams variant dongles on the planet, and Christian Schacht from Microsoft has 4 of them.
Just logging them. Yeah. That's first of many vendors to come, so we'll see what.
Martin, key takeaways from Enterprise Connect?
That's been great. Seeing people work in the booth, lots of questions, interest in all different areas. Trying to think what the kind of big highlight ones are, really. AI, obviously, a big one, and lots of interest there, and just meeting everyone's been my big highlight. Really. There's so many announcements, there's too many.
Yep.
And I'm tired.
It's day 3. We're all struggling a little bit.
Maren?
I personally really liked the multi-camera environments. We haven't seen a whole lot of discussion around center of table cameras all that much, but I did see them in quite a few, I think 3 different booths this week, where they were combining center of table camera with front of room camera, and that sort of solution was kind of cool.
Yeah, because
I don't know
the
what.
cool part about it now is
Yeah.
I'm looking at you, not at the camera, so with the center of
Yeah,
table,
it would snap.
it'd see my face, not the
Yeah.
balding spot here.
Well, there was apparently in the Poly booth, which I had not seen, in a personal mode setup where it was using 2 cameras. And oftentimes if you've got a dual monitor setup and maybe you're presenting to a camera here, but you're looking at your slides here. So I'm excited to see more of these multi-camera
Poly had the
environments.
face recognition, didn't they? So
Yeah.
you could, as you changed monitor, they would snap the camera.
Yeah, it would snap to a different one. So I thought that seeing more multi-camera environments, and the way I think it's One Beyond, right, where the Crestron multi-camera environment is one. So that's what I'll be looking for at InfoComm. A lot more of the furniture, a lot more of the 21x9, the multi-camera environments,
BYOD
more of this
being live and more
BYOD.
BYOD being
A lot
announced.
more
I'm sure
BYOD.
more partners being
Yeah.
announced.
which means we'll probably have Microsoft in a lot of booths, I think, which is exciting. A lot more people embracing us. Was it 180 million users? What was the stat? 280
280 million.
280 million.
Yeah, 280 million.
So
MAU, yeah.
it's significant.
It is
I
pretty.
thought of a highlight then. 2 maybe. Multi-account, multi-tenant in the new teams.
Right.
That
Yeah.
was awesome. Notifications coming from outside the tenant. And then, yeah, I think like in the keynotes for Microsoft, Cisco in there, Cisco in Microsoft, the demos. I mean,
Yeah, live demos on stage.
yeah,
Yeah.
And for certified products.
yeah.
And mine, we had talked about. I say it's partially selfish because I work for Jabra, but it's really the message from Microsoft that Android is we're an operating systems company. We're becoming always been a platform company, but Android is a platform we're extending and embracing.
Mhm.
So
Exciting.
I think that's huge. All right, I think that's it.
Cool. Thanks everybody for joining us.
Teams Fridays on Wednesday. Thanks for joining us, and we'll have a proper Teams Fridays next Friday, not in 3 days, but in like 10 days, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Sure. I'll be there on time.
All right, here we go. Thanks for watching.